Welcome to Missing Persons Archives, a channel dedicated to sharing real stories of those who vanished without a trace. Here, we explore the facts, the timelines, the investigations, and the unanswered questions behind each disappearance. These are more than cases, they are people, and every story deserves to be told. Subscribe and join us as we shine a light on the missing. In a world full of chaos and connection, some disappearances strike a deeper chord, when not just one, but two people vanish without a trace. These couples left behind no trail, no goodbye, no explanation. Their stories are unsettling, their fates unknown. These are the cases of couples who vanished without a trace. In 1997, 54-year-old Michael Sullivan and his 36-year-old girlfriend, Camden Sylvia, were living what appeared to be a happy life together in a Manhattan loft. They were known for enjoying nighttime runs through the city, something that never raised concern until the evening of November 7th. That night, the couple left for a jog and never returned. Days passed with no contact. Camden's mother, growing worried, visited their loft. Everything seemed untouched, except for Camden's purse, their house keys, and their running shoes, which were left behind. Suspicion quickly turned to their landlord, Robert Rodriguez, who was in financial trouble and trying to illegally raise rent across the building. Camden had presented him with a signed tenant petition the very day she and Michael vanished. Then Rodriguez disappeared too, for 2 weeks. When he resurfaced, he gave no explanation. While he was later imprisoned for fraud, he was never charged in connection with their disappearance. To this day, the fate of Michael and Camden remains unknown. July 27, 2006. Christopher Mittendorf, 21, and his 17-year-old girlfriend, Kristina Branum, left his mother's home in Hardin County, Tennessee to go shopping. They never returned. Their vehicle was found 5 days later, abandoned in a rural area 50 miles away. A cell phone was left inside. A witness claimed to have seen the couple exit their car and enter a white vehicle that sped off. It raised suspicions, but offered no answers. Christopher's mother suspected a known criminal, George Boggess. She'd found a lockbox at her home filled with Boggess's belongings and feared her son had stolen from him. However, Boggess was murdered by his wife in 2010, and investigators never linked him officially to the disappearance. The couple remains missing. In 1928, Newlyweds Glen and Bessie Hyde set out on a honeymoon adventure, rafting the Green and Colorado rivers. On November 15th, they restocked at the home of photographer Emery Kolb and were never seen again. Their fully stocked boat was found later, caught on an underwater snag. All their personal items were still aboard, but Glen had refused to bring life jackets. Did they drown? Did they hike out and get lost? Or was foul play involved? In 1971, a woman claimed she was Bessie and had murdered Glen to start over, but she recanted. Skeletal remains found on Kolb's property were later identified as unrelated. Nearly a century later, their fate is still a mystery. Edward and Stefania Andrews, both in their 60s, were last seen leaving a cocktail party in Chicago on May 15, 1970. Witnesses said Edward looked unwell. A garage worker saw him stumbling to his car, with Stefania begging him not to drive. They drove off, hitting the garage door on the way out, and were never seen again. Authorities theorized they drove into the Chicago River, but exhaustive searches, including one in 1980 that uncovered 12 cars, yielded nothing. In 1994, an informant claimed gang members murdered the couple and dumped the car in a pond near Green Oaks. A search turned up nothing. Over 50 years later, no evidence has been found. On February 19, 2005, Danielle Imbo and Richard Patron left a bar in Philadelphia and vanished. No activity was ever recorded again on their credit cards or bank accounts. Theories emerged that they accidentally drove into the Delaware River, but it was searched thoroughly with no trace of them or Richard's Dodge Dakota. Danielle's estranged husband, Joe Imbo, was considered a person of interest, allegedly having exchanged threats with Richard. Complicating things, Danielle had reportedly told Richard she didn't want a relationship anymore. Neither has ever been found, nor has Richard's truck. Nearly 2 decades later, their disappearance remains a mystery. July 27, 1973, 16-year-old Mitchell Weiser and his 15-year-old girlfriend, Benita Bickwit, hitched a ride to a concert in Watkins Glen, New York, and vanished. They were last seen on State Route 97. Police quickly labeled them runaways, but their families disagreed. In 2000, a man named Alan Smith came forward, claiming he met the couple on a bus and later saw them drown in a river after Benita struggled in the water. Smith said the driver promised to call authorities, but never did. While police found his story plausible, no proof has surfaced. The teens remain missing. In 1991, elderly couple Connor and Sheila Dwyer vanished from Fermoy, Ireland. They were last seen at Mass on April 30th. Weeks later, a concerned relative entered their home. It was tidy and undisturbed. Strangely, their vehicle was also gone, yet their glasses, passports, and cash were all left behind. Connor had disappeared once before, years earlier, and returned without ever explaining where he'd been. This time, neither returned. There were no signs of foul play, and no clues ever surfaced. The case is one of Ireland's enduring mysteries. March 5, 1957. William and Margaret Patterson disappeared from El Paso, Texas. Their cat, car, and personal belongings were left behind. 5 months passed before a neighbor reported them missing. A letter allegedly from William surfaced, detailing how to divide their businesses. Authorities doubted its authenticity. Later, a man claimed to have seen blood and a piece of scalp at their home, and a witness moving bloody sheets into a trunk. He waited 27 years to report it, fearing deportation. No arrests were made, and no remains were found. The couple's old house is now rumored to be haunted. Each of these stories reminds us how fragile our presence in the world can be. One moment shared between 2 people, gone the next. Whether these couples were victims of foul play, misfortune, or something far stranger, we may never know, but we remember their names and their stories, because to be remembered is in some way to never truly vanish. If you have any information, even the smallest detail about any of these cases, please contact your local police department. And please like, share, and subscribe. Keeping these cases in the public eye is the first step toward justice and closure. This is Missing Persons Archives. Stay safe, stay aware, and never forget the missing.